So good day to you all. So in this class, we'll be treating payroll, which is a topic in basic accounting processes for those writing ICAN or ATSWA. So for those of you that need the idea or need the knowledge also of payroll, you can also listen. But this video is strictly for those who are preparing for ATSWA, as you can see right here. So if this is your first time in this class, ensure you click the red button below, subscribe to our channels, and click the notification button so when we drop more videos, you get notified. So payroll, as I've said earlier, is our topic for this class. So join me as we journey in today's class lectures. Don't forget to get your writing materials as we proceed. So as we have here, we have payroll is a record showing the important details of employee, e.g. the name, method of payment, rate, etc. So in a nutshell, payroll shows details of employees. In every organization, there's always who we call the employer and the employee. So employer is someone who gives us jobs, employment opportunity. So employee is the person who receives. So if Mr. A owns a company and is looking for laborers, and here is Mr. B who needs work. So Mr. A is an employer, Mr. B is an employee. So payroll shows the important details of employee. So payroll shows important details of the employee now, not the employer, the employee. So details like their salary, their names, their salaries, the method we are going to be using to pay. So the rate at which we'll be paying them, if it is 10,000 naira a month or 20,000 naira a month. So the rate at which we'll be paying them, the deductions that we'll be making from their salary, like tax, so etc. So in a nutshell, payroll shows details of employee. So that's what we mean by payroll. So there are some terminologies we use under payroll. Terminologies like wages, terminologies like salaries, terminologies like gross pay and net pay. So let's quickly look at what all these terminologies means. So when we say wages, let me start with difference between wages and salaries. Now let's consider two different being. Now we have this one to be Mr. A, we have this one to be Mr. B. Mr. A, we have this one to be Mr. B. Now Mr. A receives salary of 30,000 naira monthly. 30,000 naira monthly. But Mr. B does not want salary. Rather, he prefers payment, everyday payment of 700 naira a day. Now, you say Mr. A is collecting salary while Mr. B collects wages. So wages is a type of remuneration being paid to employees that is not monthly based, while salary is monthly based. Salary is always monthly based. Salary monthly based. Salary is always monthly based. So and wages is what? Weekly. It can be wages, can be hour per hour, can be weekly based. So if an hour of work is equals to 500, 1 hour is equals to 500. this is, you see, this is wages. Why? Because it is not monthly base. Any type of payment that is monthly base is called salary, but any type of payment that is weekly or daily or hourly base is called wages. So that's the difference between wages and salary. We are going to be using all these terminologies in our as we proceed, so you just have to just understand everything and comprehend them. So let's now move to gross pay and net pay. So what do we mean by gross pay? Let's consider another two different being. Same with Mr. A and Mr. B. So now Mr. A collects, let's say they both collect salary now. So you now understand what I mean by salary. Salary is always monthly. So they both receive salary now. But Mr. A receives 50,000 naira and Mr. B receives 60,000 naira. Now, at the end of the month, their basic salary, according to what they have agreed to with the employer, is that Mr. A will be receiving 50,000 naira, Mr. B will be receiving 60,000 naira. That's what is agreed upon. Now, this salary that they have agreed on is called gross pay. Gross pay. Why it is called gross pay, I will explain further. Now, in your trading profit and loss, when doing trading accounts, whenever you have your gross profit, is your first profit. But gross profit is not the real profit, because you still have to deduct your expenses. You still have to deduct your expenses from your gross profit before you can get your net profit. Now, so we always term gross profit to be a fake profit and net profit to be the real profit. So now this gross pay is not a really an original one. Why? Because we still have some deductions we are going to remove. For example, Mr. A pays tax of 10,000 naira. So what is his gross pay? His gross pay is 50,000 naira. Why his net pay is 50,000 naira minus 10,000 naira. So his gross pay will be what? 40,000 naira. So net pay, gross pay, is the total earnings before any deduction. So gross pay, total earnings before deduction. So your total earnings before deduction is what we call gross pay, while your total earnings after deduction is what we call net pay. So if you have subtract 10,000 naira from this your net pay, which gives you 40,000 naira, this 40,000 naira is what you are going to take home for your children, the wife, and everybody to take care of the family. So this 40,000 naira is what? Net pay. Why this 50,000 naira is gross pay. So that's the difference between gross pay and net pay. So let's proceed. So another thing we need to consider under payroll is what we termed remuneration method, or is also the same thing as salary method. So you need to understand something, that this video is strictly a summary of everything we have under payroll. So, and it's a comprehensive summary. So when you read so when you solve your insights and do more of your study packs, then you can watch this video for a comprehensive knowledge. Even with this video, you are good to go. So there is something we call remuneration method. Remuneration method means, don't forget what I've emphasized earlier, that a payroll shows informations of workers. Let's see let's see what we mean by payroll. Let's say this is the payroll for Frank. So you have name of Frank, name of Frank, name you have Frank. So this is what we mean by payroll. You have hours of work. You can have like maybe 3 hours daily. So after that you can have salary or wages. So you can have maybe 17 salary or wages. You can have 17,000 naira. So what is this payroll showing in essence? It's showing us information of our worker. So maybe tax again. Tax is 10%. So this payroll is showing what? Is showing summary of things pertaining to the workers or the employees in an organization. And don't forget that if a worker is paid hourly or weekly or daily, it is called the worker is being paid wages. But if it is always after the end of the month, which is always the work of 30 working days, so it is called salary. So this is just a summary. So let's now move to the remuneration or salary method. Remuneration or salary method simply means that 3 ways in which employers pay their workers. So we have 3 methods employers can utilize to pay their workers. 3 methods. So I'll be giving us the 3 and explaining them as we go. So the first one is time-based. The second one is performance related or piece of work. Performance related, or you call it piecework system. So another thing is that they can ask you another name for performance related system is performance related is also called piecework system. Another one is what? Straight salary. So let's start with time base. So like I said earlier, how can an employer pay his employees? He can decide to use any of these 3 based on the one that pay him most and the one that pays the employees most based on their agreements. Let's put it that way. Now, what is time based? So let's see what time base is. So let's proceed. Time base is a remuneration method. Which allow workers to be paid hourly or per hour of work. So in this time-based method, that's when you see that workers are receiving 1 hour. For 1 hour is 500 naira. So time-based supports wages from that, because you should all know that wages is not monthly. Anything aside from monthly is wages. So this supports time-based system supports wages because it doesn't allow monthly payment. It allows hourly or weekly or month or daily. So based on the agreement. So time-based is always per hour of work. So if a worker works for 3 hours following this payment method. So if a worker works for 3 hours, since 1 hour is 500, 3 hours will be 1,500. So, and if a worker works for 5 hours, it will be what? So that should be 4,500. Yes, so for 5 hours. Sorry, that should be 2,500, not 4,500. That should be 2,500. So time-based is a remuneration method which allows workers to be paid hourly or weekly. So an employer can use this method based on what repels him or the employee, or based on their agreement. So that's that about that. So another one we have is what we call performance related or piecework system. So what is performance related or piecework system? This is simply a remuneration method, a remuneration system which allows workers to be paid based on the level of output. So what do you mean by based on the level of output? For example, if an employer has an agreement with the employee that for 5 products you produce, I will pay you 1,000 naira. This is performance or piecework system. This system doesn't allow rooms for laziness. Doesn't allow room for laziness. That's because it is based on the product you produce that will warrant how you will be paid. So you, as an employee, you want to work hard so that you can be paid a high remuneration. So for 5 products you produce, you'll be paid 1,000 naira. So if you produce 10 products, you'll be paid 2,000 naira. That's what it means. If you produce 30 products, so you can know what you can calculate what you will be paid according to what you have already. So in this type of remuneration method, it allows that workers should be paid based on the output, the output they produce. So this is remuneration method or performance method allows that workers should be paid based on the output he or she produced. So let's look at straight. So straight salary admits that workers be paid fixed amount irrespective of the level of output or time use, with a promise to increase. Now, what do we simply mean by this straight salary? Straight salary doesn't consider the time a worker used on producing, doesn't consider the output. Straight salary is just an agreement that within the employer and the employee that I'll be paying you a fixed amount. For example, a worker collecting 15,000 naira monthly. 15,000 naira monthly. So straight salary supports salary. That's why it's called straight salary. This supports wages. So this admits the fact that this straight salary is the one I personally dislike, because a employer uses it as a way to cheat their employees, and is mostly common in developing countries. Is mostly common in developing countries. So, and most especially in West Africa. So with just a fixed amount of money, even if you produce, you will still collect that 15,000 naira. Even some find it out to increase it at the end. So these types of remuneration method is called straight salary. And on straight salary, you should take note of something, that there is always a promise to increase. That you can start with 15,000 naira, then maybe in the next 2 months 15,500, in the next 3 months 17,000, and so on and so forth. So there is always a promise to increase. But in most developing countries, the promise is out, just a straight. Some can even work for 3, 5, 6 years without even any increase in salary. That's how bad it can be to be growing up in a disadvantaged country like that. So back to the business. So that's different between time-based, performance, and straight salary. So for all these three, the last subtopic we are going to be considering under this topic is what we called the bonus scheme. So the last subtopic is bonus scheme. This bonus scheme has calculations. So bonus is a tip bonus is a tip given to excellent workers. Why do we need to award excellent workers? So that they can give us their best. So in economics, there's something we called efficiency of labor. So we give tips, we give more than the normal remuneration to workers so that they can give us their best performance. They can produce in the best way they know they can. So that's what we mean by bonus. And for example, imagine a worker. Let me tell you the reason why we need to give bonus. A worker is supposed to work for 3 hours to produce 30 quantity of goods, but this worker used 2 hours to produce this 30 quantity of goods. We need to reward this worker. Why? Because using time-based method, the amount that will be collected by the workers here will be greater than the amount here, because time-based method is equals to the time of work, time rates times time actual time, rather time rates times time taken. So, but for the sake of our next class, let's more of this will be emphasized on in our next videos. Make sure you watch out for it. And before you proceed, there's always a red button below this video. Click the red button. It's a subscription button. Subscription is free. Thank you. I still remain your loyal tutor. See you in our next second class of Payroll. Enjoy the rest of your day.